not clean at all. I did a mistake in SQ2 and that threw me off a little bit. Then I decided to go for lap 1 on soft without doing prep, and tires were a bit cold, and it was just a messy session, but still P2 and very close, so the potential is definitely there, and we'll do better tomorrow.
3/10 over your rivals in that session at least. Do you feel that's a representative gap to the rest of the field right now?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we brought the upgrade, and that's what it was giving to us in terms of performance. So, of course, we still need to understand a little bit more the package because the balance has changed a little bit. But overall, it seems to have given us a little bit of an edge again. But we'll focus on to tomorrow.
Good bounce back, Jamie. Just what George would have needed up against Kimi, but Kimi there explaining, a few issues. So maybe it could have been a different story.
A needed bounce back, but it felt like, I don't know if he was holding something back in practice or Q1 or SQ1, but it just felt like as SQ2 started, George just found form. And from there on in, it's actually ended up being closer than I would have expected in that last run. Obviously, Kimi said he was battling a few issues, but with the track evolution at the very end, I think that's where Mercedes put the mark down and really found that big margin to the other field.
Yeah, it was a very mixed up grid right up into those last laps. You weren't quite sure how it was going to end up in terms of who was going to be on that pole position. But I think Mercedes were very strong as we expected. It looked for a while like Lewis might be on the front row there. So quite tight amongst the people behind. It was just that Mercedes got that final lap in at that right time.
The gap not as big as it was in practice to the rest. But as you're saying, I mean, they know that they've got a decent car and the upgrades that are coming are improving it. You could hear it in what George had to say.
Yeah, it's clearly working for them. I think that's kind of what we expected coming into it. McLaren didn't put their laps in practice. They had a cleaner run in that last run and it ended up being the second row. Lewis was flying. That was the one that was the maybe slight anomaly. Obviously, we know he goes well here, but Ferrari not bringing any upgrades. They're the ones that I'm actually surprised by how competitive they looked throughout the session. But it was also, as Bernie said, no mistakes. That last lap of qualifying was when no mistakes seemed to creep in, and we actually saw the kind of proper order of where all the cars were at, and it gave us, I think, a good read on the rest of the weekend.
It's a strange one, isn't it? I mean, actually, you can liken George and Oscar, similar tracks that they don't like, but here, this is clearly one that George absolutely adores. He was saying, he was just explaining he had a very tight relationship with Toto, but he will have been feeling the pressure. Talking to Andrew Shovlin as well in there, one of the engineering team. I mean, I don't know, put it to you, Bernie. You are someone like George Russell who's been around now. He's extremely experienced. He's expecting this to be his year. No two ways about it. And then he's had this from Kimi, and it's how he deals with it, really.
Yeah, and I think that George has got a lot of experience. He's been waiting for this moment to have the car that could potentially bring him that first Drivers' Championship, and it's there, he can sort of sense it in his grasp. So it's getting the best out of it. George is relentless through many seasons. We've seen him very few mistakes, very consistent over the course of the season. That'll be his strength this year compared to Kimi Antonelli. That's what he's going to be sort of relying on, I think, through this season. And all drivers know that we do lots of work at the end of the season of where their strengths are, where their weaknesses are, which tracks they like, which to be strong at, and he'll have known where Canada's coming up on the calendar, and then that is his opportunity to sort of turn the tide a little bit. Now, it's only sprint qualifying, there's a lot of the weekend still to go, but he'll have had that little extra bit of confidence in himself coming into this weekend.
Actually, that's been his strength. Coming through the formula, all the way in the junior categories, George, by his own admission, he's just consistent. And I might be making this up. Am I making it up? Did he not finish in the points every single race last year? Someone will correct me, I'm sure, especially if I'm wrong. But I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? He's capable of churning out. He's capable of always, being near to his best.
Exactly. I think it's making your bad races not that bad, which I think that's the first we've seen of George have such a deficit to Kimi was in Miami. So making sure it's a long season. When you're not on form, you're not finding everything you need from the car, those are the weekends you can't be missing points and losing out too much. So that's normally where George is strong. For me, I think George just needs to be comfortable being uncomfortable this year, because Kimi is going to be at his heels all year. That's no doubt about that. At times he's going to be quicker, and I think George isn't quite used to that yet. So he needs to get used to that feeling. And then I think he can find confidence in his own driving like he did today, which was a very strong performance.
OK, let's see what his boss Toto Wolff made of it. He's talking with Ted.
Nice to see the smile back on George's face.
Yeah.
It's only sprint qualifying, but hey.
Yeah, it's only the baby race, but still, you know, it's good to see the pace is there. Also for his confidence, but you know, I've never doubted. We have never doubted in that. Miami was a bad track.
Yeah. Back to a circuit that he feels comfortable and confident. It's very tight though, 68 thousandths of a second. What's Kimi's day been like so far?
Yeah, absolutely. But it's always clear that, you know, the kiddo is fast and has shown that. So I think it's good for both of them to fight like this. It makes the team faster, and there's not a lot in it.
Talking of what's in it, how much time do all these upgrades that everybody working in Brackley has worked so hard to bring? What are we talking, half a second?
Well, it was an enormous workload that was being brought to the car. I think if Lewis doesn't make this one mistake in the hairpin, he's probably fighting for pole here with us. So we need to see what it brings in the real quali tomorrow and in the race. I don't want to get neither too greedy of is that good enough or not, but on the other side, also not too negative.
Well, no, certainly not negative. 1-2 on the grid. See you tomorrow. Thank you.
Yeah, another good day in the office for Toto and both of his drivers. A reasonable day for the McLarens. Lando Norris in third, Oscar Piastri in fourth, looking out the second row of the grid. Let's hear from them and also from Andrea Stella.
Lando, 3/10 off the Mercedes in the end. Is that a good result today from what you've seen earlier in the weekend?
Yeah. No, very good result actually. No, a good surprise. I think after this morning we were a little bit worried, let's say, about how far off we were, and more just the lack of confidence in the car. But we made some tweaks. We changed some things and seemed to make a good improvement. So happy with third. I mean, it wasn't the best lap. I could have got more out of it, but then when I saw the gap to the guys ahead, not that much, you know. So no positive turnarounds, and I'm proud of the team that we managed to do such a good job.
How are the upgrades feeling, and does the car feel like it could challenge for the win in the sprint tomorrow?
I think it certainly felt decent. Some things are maybe a bit more questionable, and we probably need just more time to review things and look back, especially because it's such a weird track. This is so low grip. You're kind of bouncing off curbs and stuff, so you're not getting a kind of a true representation of everything, and it's hard to kind of back it up with what we have in the wind tunnel and things like that. So we need a bit more time with some bits, and we'll probably reintroduce some of them next weekend. Or in Barcelona, but at the same time, the rest of the car now I think was clearly working well, and I felt confident in Q3, especially on the soft, which is probably the first time this weekend that I felt that confidence, you know. So now a good step forward, and we'll see what we can improve, knowing that into tomorrow.
Great stuff, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi Oscar, how's the car feeling out there, and is that a good sign for these upgrades essentially?
I mean, it was feeling pretty good. I think a bit of a messy day for everybody, I think, but the Mercedes still looks very strong. So I think that's probably the biggest takeaway from today, unfortunately. But we'll see what we can do, see how we can optimise things a bit better, and try our best again tomorrow.
The Ferraris look pretty strong for a while. You've both had good starts so far this season. Is that a challenge tomorrow? While you want to get ahead of the Mercedes, you've got to keep an eye on your rearview mirrors. I mean, our starts have been better than the Ferraris all year, so we're confident in ours. I'm sure it's only a matter of time before Mercedes get theirs competitive as well. But until that time comes, we'll try our best to take advantage of it.
Well, Andrea, it's third and fourth, but did you expect to be that margin behind the Mercedes, 3/10, I think it is?
I think it's a fair margin considering that they had important upgrades here. We also had some upgrades. We actually wanted to take a bit more time to see the behavior of the front wing, so we raced with the previous front wing. So looking at the fact that the car is pretty much the Miami car, it's a gap that remains encouraging. Obviously, we want to be in pole position, and today we are 3/10 off, so all things need to be put in perspective. But overall, an encouraging session. The practice session was complex with the behavior of the tires, the behavior of the brakes, and some aerodynamic experiments. So we are happy that the engineers and the drivers kind of put all together for the qualifying session. as always in the sprint event, you learn from the sprint quali, you learn from the sprint itself, and we see what further step we will be able to make for the race.
Interesting. Yeah, I was going to ask about the front wing. Is it maybe that it's not circuit dependent for this one? Maybe it's better for a circuit that has other characteristics, or is it that the wing is not giving you the advantage that the simulations maybe suggested that it would?
No, it doesn't have to do with the circuit characteristic. It's more that we want to take more time to see the correlation between the data and what we have, what we expect from the development tools. So when it's a sprint event, you know that you only have one session. We want to race a car that we know. We want to race a car that is predictable. So for the moment, we have gone for the Miami front wing.
Okay, we'll see what happens the rest of the weekend. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bernie, just tell us, or tell the viewers, from an engineering perspective, the difference between a normal weekend with your 3 practice sessions and a sprint weekend in terms of the development you can make, the catch-up that you can make for the race.
Yeah, I think that there's a few things. You've got much less testing. So in a P1 session, you've got the 1 hour before you go into the sprint qualifying this afternoon that we've just had. That's very short to try and get any long run data, any high fuel data. So you have to decide whether you're going to prioritise. And we had a very disrupted practice this morning with the red flags. Are you going to prioritise the qualifying aspect? Are you going to qualify? Are you going to put more importance on the sprint tomorrow? I'm struggling with my words.
Okay.
So what do you?
Take your time, Bernie. Take your time. I'm trying to understand anyway. Yeah.
What's your most important darling that you're trying to get out of that car? So that's the first thing. I think what the new regulations this year, the last few years, have been that we do the sprint qualifying this afternoon and we do the sprint tomorrow morning. Then they can reset the car, they can change it, they can change the ride heights, they can change the front wing if they want to, because the race has obviously starts at a much higher fuel level. So your setup for the race will be different for the setup for sprint, even if you're totally happy with the sprint setup. So there's lots of things the engineers are trying to manage. It is interesting that McLaren had that front wing on, then took it off and say, oh, it's a test item, because you wouldn't normally run that sort of test item in a practice session here if you didn't think there was a chance you're going to keep it for the rest of the weekend.
Okay, just a quick one on Lando, though. You know, he will want a car underneath him to defend his title, right? I mean, it's going to be difficult. We know that against the might of Mercedes and the way that they're performing at the moment. But they're staying positive, and this team we all know how good they are at developing.
They are, and to be honest, he seems relatively content. All he can do at the moment is compare to Oscar, and I think he's a current world champion and he's done an incredible job over the last year, but even this year I think he seems very relaxed, he seems happy. I'm happy that Oscar seems to have found quite a bit of performance from Miami. They're very closely matched this weekend, which I think is good for Oscar and his peace of mind. But for Lando, yeah, I think he can just do the job he can and hope that the car gets to a place that can fight the Mercedes later in the year.
Okay, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we will wrap up the day and we'll talk about Ferrari. Lewis Hamilton, well, he was good on the mediums. I mentioned that for Lewis Hamilton, but in the end, he had to plump for 5th, unfortunately. Nice little souvenir for her. Let's hear from him and also from his teammate, Charles Leclerc.
Hey Lewis, I don't think there was anyone more committed through that final chicane out there. It looked like you had a car that you were having a lot of fun with. I know it wasn't maybe as high up as you would hope, but that was a great quali, it looked like from you.
Yeah, great. It's probably the best qualifying session we've had for some time, and just really great work with the engineers. Setup changes, the car felt really fantastic from P1, and we made just subtle changes going into quali. P1 and P2 is looking good, and then I don't know why the others are able to turn up a little bit more. I don't know, but I'm just happy to be there in the fight. You know, I was having so much fun out there. So, and also, you know, the fact that I didn't do the sim, and I feel it's the best I felt all year. So, I think that's the way forward for me.
Maybe that should be the way forward, I guess, from the start. In terms of the comfort in the car, did it feel like you said from P1, it just came alive after that hard work you've done with your engineers?
Yeah, we worked really hard. Sipping through the data the last couple of weeks, and I found that so much more beneficial in terms of one, I was able to then just focus on training and not be distracted, and then the second part was just like really going through a fine comb with ride stability through corner balances and mechanical balance, and just find and I chose a setup that we've not used. We've never used it actually before, so and it's transformed the car for me. So I hope that bodes well for the rest of the weekend.
Well, best of luck for the rest of the weekend. Thanks.
Hi, Charles. The Ferrari had looked really quick there. McLaren have just pipped you to that second row. Is that roughly what you expected, or were you hoping more from more this weekend?
But honestly, on my side, I kind of expected it. I haven't been at all at ease with the car. I'm really struggling with the brakes on my side of the garage for some reason. So we need to look into it, trying to find something for tomorrow. Otherwise, it's going to be a very long weekend because in the brakes, I get into the corners hoping that I don't end up going straight. So that's the main issue at the moment. Other than that, the car feels actually quite okay. Lewis has been incredibly quick this weekend. But on my side, I just need to work on the feelings with the brakes, and hopefully we can turn the situation around tomorrow.
Jamie, we discuss it so often, a happy Lewis. When he's at a track that he loves, it quite often translates to his performance, doesn't it?
And he looks good on track. It looks like he's super comfortable in the car. I think just missing out on at the end then, but yeah, putting in purple sectors like no tomorrow. So that's the Lewis we love to see. And it's on good form. I mean, he's put in a good argument not to use the simulator as well again, which I'm sure that department...
How convenient.
Yeah, exactly. We'll be thrilled to hear. But yeah, incredible performance. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he goes in main qualifying tomorrow as well.
Yeah, we obviously know about the Ferrari's fast starts and Mercedes struggling in that area. So let's see if they can get ahead. Can they stay ahead?
Yeah, I think that George Russell and the Mercedes are probably a little bit happy that the McLaren are in the middle there, but Ferrari have been very good at their starts. So if they can maximise it, and not only the starts, the opening laps of the race, the Ferrari seems strong. It seems to drift away a little bit later in the race. So if they can maximise that potential here, it is possible to overtake here. So even around the first lap, if they can get good out of a corner, they're good at that initial acceleration. That's where I think their strength is potentially going to be.
Okay, not the smoothest of qualifying for Max Verstappen. Hauled it through, though, to start from 7th, talking to Lawrence Barretto.
Hey Max, you're pacing that first section on the medium tyre, looked good. Just as that quali progressed, were you disappointed maybe that the Mercedes, the McLarens, the Ferraris just moved up a little bit?
I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, just, my feeling in the car was not very good. I was struggling a lot with just the ride of the car. So all over the bumps, couldn't put my foot down. Actually, my feet were even flying off the pedals. So, it just made it very difficult to be consistent. And that's something that we need to investigate.
Were you able to make a step at least from this morning into sprint quali?
No, it was not great. So, of course, we were stuck with that for the sprint, but yeah, some other things to understand, and hopefully that will be then a bit better for quali.
So how tricky do you think the rest of the weekend's going to be with the car that you've got?
I don't know. We'll see.
2x2 for the top 8, the top 4 teams in the championship. Max Verstappen, though, only 10th clear of his teammate. That kind of highlights when he's at well, considering it was a second between them, wasn't it, in Miami in qualifying, and Hadjar's just all over the place with his head by the looks of things. Closer today.
Yeah, I think Hadjar had a good weekend. I think there was a lot of discussion, in the paddock. I'm not sure who said it earlier, that he found some difficulties that he was having in the car, found some answers to why the pace deficit was there, and he's worked to correcting them for this weekend, and that has shown. Max clearly very uncomfortable with the car, never a good sign. I'm sure Jimmy knows when your feet are coming off the pedals, that's the last thing you want in an F1 car.
It's also more concerning that he's just been at the Nordschleife, which has 2 jumps in the track, and he's complaining about his feet being off the pedals in an F1 car. So uncomfortable with that. I think he's complaining about the diff and the rear instability in FP1. So they're going to probably use tomorrow as a bit of a practice session to get on top of some stuff.
A word, Jamie, on Isaac, though, because after everything that happened in Miami, that's the section that will give him some confidence. He needs to stay on his coattails, unlike some of the other teammates Max had.
He does, and I think he came out the block strong this season with the rules change. I think is a bit of a softer landing for him, but equally, I think, he's got to keep his head down for tomorrow and have a good day.
Okay, Arvid Lindblad to wrap things up into the top 10.
Ovid, that looked like a pretty good session for you out there. Is that a fair reflection on it?
Yeah, I think for sure the pace was better than expected. I think the team have done a mega job. Obviously, we brought this new upgrade. It seems to be working well. And I think also, I'm happy with myself. Obviously, it's a very difficult track, to come to as a rookie, especially on a sprint weekend. And I think I've done a good job to get up to speed. A little bit disappointed with SQ3 because I think I could have maximised more. But, still, I think I think to be in Q3 is really good compared to where we were in Miami. So few things to work on my side, but overall happy with myself and very grateful to the team.
What can you expect from tomorrow? I know you haven't raced around this track before, but what can you expect from tomorrow in the sprint? Do you think you can get into the points?
We'll see. I mean, in the end, I think we're best of the rest. I mean, you have all the top teams in front, which all the previous races they've had quite a step. They've been quite a step ahead. We seem more competitive today in Quali, so we'll see. I think, obviously, with all the interruptions in FP1, no one was able to get a proper long run. So we'll see. I think graining will be a factor. It was quite a big thing last year. We know that we have decent starts, so I don't know. It should be fun. For sure, we'll get stuck in and see what happens.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, Jamie, explain why it is. He was just saying they're difficult for a rookie to come into. Why is Canada so tricky to get right?
It's tricky, well, for a few reasons. One, it's a street track. I think we saw in FP1 how dusty the track was. It evolves, it gets better, but then you've got the challenge of the walls and what have you. So I think in that sense, any street track's tough to get on top of, but it's very technical. There's a lot of change of direction, low speed, corners. It's low downforce as well, so the stability you get from the car isn't like they've had for the last few races. And then you've got to have the big balance of curb compliancy whilst a good sort of stiff car that can change direction well. And then tyre warm up on top of that. Technically, for a rookie, without all 3 practice sessions, it's one of the toughest, I think.
And what, again, from an engineer's perspective, in terms of setting the cars up correctly, is it again as tricky as it is for the drivers?
Yeah, I think it is. I think maybe we alluded to it at one point in commentary earlier. It's maybe a little bit easier with these cars because there's a big delta. You can use DRS effectively, so you can drop the drag on the straights, whereas before you were trying to balance the downforce in those corners with not having the drag on the straights. Now, because of the moving aerodynamics, then there's maybe a little bit, that balance might be a little bit easier, but it is tricky because you don't want to compromise straight line speed because that is your overtaking possibilities in the race.
And that could be a weakness for Ferrari tomorrow. They're going to balance that off again, the top end speed against their fast starts. Where's the smart money tomorrow, and how important again for George? Yes, it's a pole, but there's no points for pole, so...
No, George needs to be on top of the starts tomorrow and have a clean race and take that into qualifying. And then I think the Ferraris are going to get in the mix in the later positions.
I think Mercedes is going to be even better tomorrow in the race.